Mario, a former leader with Toyota in San Antonio, what's been happening today?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. So today, we had previously invited the Bexar County Economic Development Team, Mr. David Marquez and Mr. Marshall Hulk, and they presented their initiative that's called TMAS, Texas Mexico Automotive Supercluster. And a supercluster essentially visualizes the automobile network between Texas and the bordering states in Mexico, right? So from middle Mexico to most of Texas, what does that automotive footprint look like? So today we looked at data having to do with the OEMs, where are the tier one footprints, what has been the growth since 2008 to today, and significantly we saw the growth in a 50-year window, specifically how Texas only had two OEMs or so, and so now there's 16, right? Not counting what's grown in Mexico, from Tesla in Austin all the way to GM and the like down in Monterrey, Kia in Monterrey and the like, right? So then not only that, but also what does the workforce need behind that? What does the infrastructure need behind that? And all this to say is, where does the valley sit in that entire supercluster, and what can we do to improve the prosperity of what we call the Rioplex or the Rio Grande Valley in conjunction with our neighbors in Mexico?
At one point, the folks from San Antonio's, the Bexar County's Economic Development Team, in their PowerPoint presentation, they had a map, and that line, that corridor's the right word, that corridor stretched from San Antonio down to Monterrey. Judge Cortez from Hidalgo County seemed to be concerned that it didn't include the Rio Grande Valley. Yet we know there's lots of auto manufacturers just south of the river here. So we do have we have a manufacturing presence, but he wanted to see the valley in the mix.
Right. So a little ambiguous in that you're right. So that we used to call the NAFTA corridor, right? Essentially along Interstate 35. You're right, probably from Austin all the way down through San Antonio, down through Laredo, and down into Monterrey. But nearby that network where the OEMs have positioned themselves, however, the conversation carried on into those OEMs then need a feeder of the tier 1, tier 2 system, all the maquilas, we call them, in the border region. So not necessarily right on that corridor, but within a 400-mile radius of the corridor, it's where the entire network comes from, right? So the valley is smack in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, if it is a 400-mile corridor radius, like he said, that would include Monterrey, that would include the valley.
That's right. So, but looking at our perspective, sometimes we don't need to entice or bring an OEM to our neighborhood. We just need to participate in the supercluster, be at the tier 2, tier 1 system, and then grow that supercluster so that we can eventually bring that OEM, right? So we have to start from somewhere. And obviously the workforce, the critical infrastructure, the industrial parks, all those together, and showing the larger global and regional foreign direct investors that the Rio Grande Valley is in the middle of that supercluster, and then we are probably an attractive player for the region to be considered for foreign direct investment.
It seems as though this is the first time this Bexar County delegation had been in the valley. The valley leaders had never invited this group down before, so this is a first. It seems as though credit needs to go to yourself for one, but also Rioplex, Mario Reyna for bringing them down. Why has it taken so long?
Well, the reality is that that same team, David Marquez, and the initiative of TMAS, the Texas Automotive Manufacturing Supercluster, did come to the region here, probably around 2012, 2013 or so. But then we got so busy. At the time, I was with Toyota as well. We got so busy in that region doing our work that initiative sort of took a back burner and wasn't really presented for a long time, probably for 10 years, right? So just in the last 2 years, it's been revived. It's been edited and improved now to include all the additions to the corridor, to the supercluster since then. And so now he's back on the road and presenting, right? And I visited David Marquez about 4 or 5 months ago in his office in Bexar County, and I asked him, hey, can you come down here and show our regional partners here what your initiative is, so that you can educate us in general, so we can better understand what that is, and how can we participate in the supercluster to hopefully work together to bring and participate in some foreign direct investment attraction.
So here's a chicken and egg question for you. There seemed to be a lot of interest in the audience when the representative, Mr. Marquez, was talking about the fast track program, that they could take workers, not necessarily students out of high school, but all ages, put them on a 10-week program and basically change their career trajectory. They could train them for manufacturing, and he had so many examples of workers that may be previously unemployed or underemployed, been able to get really high-paying jobs in the manufacturing sector. And there was, as I say, a lot of interest, it seemed to me, in the audience. We had at least 2 counties represented here today, Cameron County and Hidalgo County. If they followed the same strategy as Bexar County and produced such programs, what's the most likely thing to happen if that program was in place and those workers came through the program and in 10 weeks were very employable? Is it more likely that those workers would go to San Antonio for those great manufacturing jobs, or that a manufacturing supplier would come to the Valley because the workers are here?
That's a very good question. And first, I'd like to say that it's called the Fast Track program, and the FAST is actually an acronym that the name escapes me, but it's totally a Bexar County program born from their ideas. And it started really from the 2-year program, the FAME, the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing Education program, which is a 2-year program. So it really came from the industry partners. The industry partners are saying, hey, look, we also are interested in another streamline of workers that we're not tapping into, right? So some of them, like you said, some of them are maybe women, maybe the prior incarcerated. They call some people call them the second chance stream. Displaced workers, maybe homeless and the like, right? So Bexar County alone created this particular program to attract that older worker. And I understand that the average worker is like about 34, 35-year-old is the average. And it's a 10-week program with half a day class for 10 weeks. But the partnership is already created, with this manufacturing companies. And they hire them at $26 an hour plus. So it's a huge change for them, yes. If something like that would be created here, your question is, would they then go? Probably not, because the partnership is over there, right? But to have a program like that created here in this region, we would first have the need of the industrial partners, which ones, and understand their gap, and then create a program that fits or mitigates their gap. That way it stays within our communities.
But like I say, there seems to be tremendous interest, I would say, from County Judge Cortez in particular. But if he started that with the manufacturing base that we have in the Valley, it may not be that great because we have such a low number of manufacturers.
But the lesson learned here is that it doesn't have to be a manufacturing cluster, right? It could be maybe wherever the gap is. It could be whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in the banking industry, whether it's in maybe another sort of high-tech field that maybe we're not meeting the demand of those particular companies, right? So create a program that mitigates that by pulling streams of our members of our communities that can fit that, put them in a program, and then with a partnership, employ them. I understand that the Fast Track program there in Bexar County has an 87% place rate, so they're hiring people, and we think we can have the same success here in the Valley.
My last question. At one point, someone said it's a shame we didn't have more economic development groups here, and the answer from someone else in the audience was, this week there's a big retail trade show and they're all over. Maybe it's Las Vegas. They're all out there trying to get retail. What does that tell us about our economic development groups and their priorities for our region?
Right. Well, every particular EDO or EDC that represents their communities and municipalities that have their own strategy, right? And it retails a strategy. Well, that might be the place to be today. But here, the conversation was more about the manufacturing, specifically automotive manufacturing. But in this region, it doesn't have to be automotive manufacturing. It could be any manufacturing, right? And if in the end, we create some synergy to where we work together as a region to target a cluster, whether it's manufacturing or automotive manufacturing, hopefully the focus in the future could change a little bit.
But my point there is manufacturing as a multiplier has a much bigger impact than retail, as you know.
That's right. The data shows that manufacturing is a huge multiplier, right? From an OEM level to tier 1, tier 3, and the logistics and the like, it just grows, right? So it's just a matter of educating ourselves, educating our communities, and hopefully have some buy-in in those communities to participate as a region with us, and then hopefully create a strategy between the entire border region on both sides, in Mexico and in Texas, to entice those large foreign direct investors to invest here in this region.
Those are all the questions I had, Mario. Is there anything I've left out? Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, what I'd like to add is I think that we have to create partnerships like this one, right? So the interest of Bexar County Economic Development to help us grow our footprint, to participate in their entire supercluster, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for them, it's a win-win for us, and it's a win-win for our partners in Mexico. So I think it's a good direction to take, and hopefully we get buy-in across the whole region.
Thank you so much for today's interview.
All right, thank you.